If you've ever tried to draw a realistic eye and felt overwhelmed, unsure where to start, what the steps are, and what to focus on, this video is for you. Today, I'll walk you through a 6-step process to draw realistic eyes. You'll learn the stages of the eye drawing process, you'll understand the order and how they build upon one another, and what matters most at each one. You can download this free eye drawing roadmap to follow along. It outlines the 6 steps along with their description, priorities, and key takeaways for each one. And don't miss my free Draw Better Eyes Toolkit. It'll help you quickly troubleshoot and improve your eye drawings with an eye drawing rescue checklist and 6 quick video lessons. There are links to both free resources in the description box below. Hi, I'm Marina, a professional visual artist, former college professor of visual art, and founder of thedrawingsource.com. I've helped students create amazing eye drawing transformations in my eye drawing intensive, my complete step-by-step course on drawing realistic eyes. I would love to help you do the same. To start, here are the 6 steps to drawing a realistic eye. The block-in. Flat shadow shapes. Building up the 3-value structure. Big form modeling, small form modeling, and details smoothing and finishing. A quick note before we dive into each step separately. This drawing wasn't originally intended for a tutorial. It was part of a personal project, which is why the shape of the paper is unusual and why the drawing is quite small. Here it is next to some pencils for scale. This means that when we zoom in on it, the pencil marks will be really noticeable, and the drawing stages will overlap a bit more than if I had drawn this specifically for a tutorial. I decided to use this drawing for this lesson because I got so many requests to see this slowed down process after I posted a time-lapse video of it. This should still be really useful, and I'll just make you another eye drawing tutorial of a larger eye with even more separate steps in the future. Let's dive into each step of the eye drawing process. Our first stage is the block-in. This is the line drawing that will act as a blueprint for shading. Our priority here is to establish correct proportions and shapes using line. Correct proportions include the tilt of the eye, the widths and heights of the eye, and where specific angle changes occur. I start by lightly indicating the larger overall shape of the entire eye, just so I can place it where I want it to be on my page. But I quickly turn my attention to this angle. Often the first line of my eye drawings is the tilt of this shape. I subdivide it to start getting a sense of the proportions and where the inner corner of the eye will be, and then I approximately block in this shape, the opening of the eye. I'm looking for the major angle changes here, and the heights and widths at different spots. Drawing this shape very specifically is what will create a likeness or resemblance to the person you're drawing, so it really can't be rushed. If all your eye drawings tend to look the same, you're not drawing the shapes specifically enough, because specific shapes create likeness. Notice that I always work from general to specific. I found the general shape, and once the proportions seem approximately correct, I get more and more specific. Now I can add more information, like the iris of the eye. I can subdivide the inner corner of the eye, and then evaluate the proportions again. Checking proportions is ongoing throughout your entire drawing. Once I'm confident in this shape, I continue to the all-important planes of the eyelids. I talk extensively about the planes of the eyelids in this video, part 1 of my most common eye drawing mistakes series, so definitely don't miss that. To draw an accurate block-in of an eye, we need to know essential eye anatomy. Otherwise, it's easy to miss an entire form of the eye. We need to know what to include in our block-in and what to leave out of our block-in. For example, I often see beginners including elements like eyelashes in this initial drawing, and it makes the rest of the drawing really difficult because eyelashes obscure other forms that you must draw first. You'll notice that in this drawing, the eyelashes are the last detail, like the icing on a cake. You can learn all of these things in detail in my eye drawing intensive. Eye anatomy doesn't have to be intimidating. I've simplified it to the absolute essentials you need to know. You'll be able to rotate 3D models right in the course to really understand each element and to see how the shapes of each element change when viewed from different angles. Learning this will completely change what you see when you observe an eye. And when what we see changes, what we draw transforms as well. I'm adding the shadow shapes in the sclera to my block-in, and I continue working my way from the center of the eye outwards. I've been using comparative measurement here, but there are many methods of measurement that you can use to draw an eye. I present 4 methods of measurement in my eye drawing intensive so that you can choose which one you want to use or practice next. 2. Flat value shadow shapes. This stage looks like a shading stage, but I don't really consider this a shading step. I'm filling in the shadow shapes with a flat, even value, but only because it makes it easier to check the accuracy of my shapes. So I consider this an in-between step between the block-in and shading. It's important for the value to be even for this, but it can be fairly light. Now that the shadow shapes are filled in, I can more clearly see which ones need adjusting, and I use my kneaded eraser to do that. You can learn how to use a kneaded eraser effectively in this video. 3. Building up values, keeping the 3-value structure in mind. Before we start shading, we need to determine the value structure of our subject. This is the organization of our values. Where will the light, halftone, and dark values be on our subject? If these value relationships don't resemble the value relationships on our subject or reference, we simply won't create a realistic, natural-looking drawing. You can learn and practice drawing 3-value studies and creating effective value structures in the eye drawing intensive. But for the purposes of this video, here's my 3-value study for this eye. Now that I have this, I start building up my values, keeping this 3-value structure in mind. As I darken, my priority is to create a clear separation between the light, halftone, and dark values. I don't immediately darken my darkest values because they can be difficult or even impossible to erase. I would rather darken them in several passes, which gives me many opportunities to check and recheck my proportions and accuracy before committing to permanent dark accents. For example, at this point I noticed that I made the eye socket too big, and even though I have some decent shading started, I decided to erase and fix my proportions. This would have been much more challenging if I had darkened to the full intensity of the value right away. 4. Big form modeling. In the big form modeling stage, our priority is to make the larger forms of the eye look convincingly 3-dimensional. This phase is essential because it is not the details that create a 3D illusion. It's drawing the larger forms convincingly that creates a believable sense of depth and dimension. We need to see through the detail, model the larger forms first, and then add detail on top. So, which are the large forms of the eye? The eyeball. We can only see a part of it, but it's essential that we turn the form of the eyeball so that it reads like the sphere that it is. Notice the gradations and shadows in the sclera, the white of the eye, which is rarely completely white. I go into detail about what to look for and draw in the sclera in this video. The eyelids. The eyelids curve around the eyeball. We need to show that convincingly in our drawing. The eye socket and structures surrounding the eye, showing that the eye rests in the eye socket. Modeling or rendering these larger forms convincingly takes an understanding of value relationships and edges, how to see and draw different edge qualities convincingly. I talk more about drawing convincing edges in this video, and there is a whole module on edges in the eye drawing intensive. 5. Small form modeling. Once the larger forms of the eye are convincingly turning and looking dimensional, we can turn our attention to refining the small forms, such as the iris and pupil, which I finally start adding some detail to. Refining the small forms can include drawing more subtle value shifts, value differences, drawing more nuanced edges, noticing where there are slightly sharper or slightly softer edges, and indicating them in the drawing. Adding more specific highlights or dark accents. For example, I refine the planes of the eyelids by adding clearer highlights and darker accents. I refine the forms in the inner corner of the eye by sharpening edges and adding more subtle value modulations. I start adding some of the darkest accents to my drawing now that I'm confident in the proportions and placement of the parts of the eye. 6. Details, smoothing, and finishing. My priorities here are to add any remaining details and to smooth out my values and gradations. Because the eyebrow is so minimal here, I'm just drawing it now. Though in other eye drawings where the eyebrow is more prominent, I do address it sooner. Don't miss this video where I discuss a common mistake that results in unrealistic eyebrows and how to fix it. This last 10% of the eye drawing can take the most time because I'm looking more closely than ever at the nuances of each gradation and each form, and recreating them in my drawing. I finally add the eyelashes, one of my very last steps. I have 2 detailed video tutorials on drawing eyelashes, so I won't discuss them here. The links to those videos are in the description box below. But can you see that if I had drawn the eyelashes earlier, it would have been impossible to draw the planes of the eyelids underneath in as much detail as I did. That's why the eyelashes are a finishing touch at the end of an eye drawing. Now you know the 6-step process for drawing realistic eyes, the priorities of each stage, and how they build on one another. Don't forget to download your free 6-step eye drawing guide. It walks you through what we covered today, and the free Draw Better Eyes Toolkit. You can download both in the description below. If you're ready to transform your eye drawings so that you can consistently and confidently draw eyes that are not only realistic, but resemble the person you're drawing, and, most importantly, add expression to your portraits so that viewers can really connect to your drawing, I would love to help you with this in the eye drawing intensive. It's where these students transformed their drawings, and I would love to help you do the same. You can learn more about the course below. To keep learning right now, continue to this video, my step-by-step tutorial on drawing realistic eyelashes. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you there.